So much of what we learn is learned through our engagement with others. We spend time with people, we learn about what they believe, and then we see those beliefs in action. We also get to see how they interact with things around them that help us to better understand how we are to interact in those same situations. A funny example is when I was a kid, I used to watch my dad build. And he would have me out there, he'd be hammering nails, and I would have my little plastic kids' tools and be hammering with him and following what he did. Well, there was one time when he hit his thumb, and he hit it, put some in his mouth, and cursed. And me, being, a toddler, did the exact same thing, saying the same words that he said, and my parents were shocked, but also a little bit amused. But the point is that I was observing my dad, learning how to interact, learning how to be like him. And as Christians, we should be looking for mature believers to help us to understand what it means to be a mature believer. And teenagers are no different. Teenagers are looking for older, mature believers to help them to understand who they are in Christ and how they are to live out that identity in the real world. They're looking for people to help them understand who they want to be like. And they want someone to help show them how they are to interact in their situations. And so they'll be watching their youth leaders. They'll be watching other adults in the church, learning from them, trying to piece together what they're seeing with what they believe, and then trying to determine if that is something that is going to identify who they are. And they're going to learn those behaviors and then try to imitate them in their own lives. But more importantly, they're also going to be judging to determine if you are someone they can trust. The way that you live your life is going to determine whether or not you're trustworthy. And that's going to be by living consistently to what you're preaching. If you're up there preaching patience and gentleness, but then you are unkind and impatient with them, there's going to be a disconnect there. They're going to be able to see that hypocrisy, and it's going to greatly affect their ability to trust you and to learn from you. What we're going to see in our text this semester, specifically the Bonhoeffer as youth worker text, is how great he was at inviting the kids to do life together with him, and how great he was in engaging with his students and living daily life with them. You see, for him, youth ministry was not just preaching once a week or twice a week and then doing a couple of camps. It was living life together, being a mentor to them, showing them what it means to be a mature Christian, and to do so in reality, in day-to-day life. So often we can preach these biblical platitudes, these sayings that just become tiresome after a while, but not really show people how to live them out. What does it mean to be loving God in your daily life, in your private life? It's easy to see that when you come to church and we're all worshiping, but how do you show God's love at home? How do you show God's love at work, at school? How do you love your neighbor, in a situation where it's not clear exactly what they need? So Bonhoeffer, what he did very, very well that impacted these students, that allowed his youth ministry to be super effective, was he did life alongside of his youth students. He allowed his students to study his life, to see the biblical teachings come alive in a modern, contemporary life. And so my question for y'all that I want you to be thinking about as we go through this class is your life representing what you're teaching? Are your students seeing your messages come alive, or are you portraying hypocrisy? An effective youth ministry is going to have consistency in its leaders. And so I would encourage you to be self-reflecting on your own life, on your reactions, aware of your emotions and your feelings and how they're causing you to respond to these students, to respond to the other adults, and ensure that you're being consistent with your messages.